Hey, this is Pat, and today we're checking out the all-new Bell MX-10 Mips helmet. Now, the MX-10 is going to be the newest entry-level helmet within Bell's line. They're doing away with the MX-9 line, and it's actually being replaced with the 10 line. Starting with the MX-10, they're also going to have the Moto 10 Mips, as well as the helmet that's been around for a while that a lot of their pro racers are using in the Moto 10 spherical. So that's going to be the new family that they're actually building all their dirt helmets out of, with the MX-9 sunsetting after about 8 years of being one of the most popular helmets in the dirt segment, especially considering it was right around, if not under, the $200 price point. And the MX-10 Mips is going to follow in a lot of those footsteps, add a few features that I'm really excited about, but also bring it into a more stylistic version of what the Moto 10 looked like, and a lot of the features we saw out of the Moto 10 there. So you're looking at about $230 for the base model of the MX-10. Graphics like the camo one I have underneath me, you're getting closer to like $255 for the overall pricing. But like I said, the one thing I love is, and I'll bring up my personal Moto 10 spherical helmet over here on the left, you can really see they brought it in line with overall styling. It's slightly different shell, but it's still in the same general styling both at the front and the rear, and it's using a lot of similar features throughout the MX-10 with the Moto 10 as its inspiration. So I'll put that down over here. There's also going to be a video on the new Moto 10 Mips, which is going to sit in between these two helmets. But if you are looking at an entry-level price point from Bell to get off into trail riding, or if you're going to the MX track, or if you're doing dual sports, the MX-10 Mips is going to be a solid contender to take a look at. Again, building on top of one of the most popular lines that we've ever seen in a dirt helmet in the MX-9 Mips helmet. So the new MX-10, like I said, sitting around that $230 price point. It is still going to use a polycarb main shell construction. If you step up from there to the Moto 10, that'll get you into fiberglass, and then at the top level, you're actually getting in carbon fiber, but you're getting polycarb, which is very par of the course for an entry-level dirt helmet. But the one thing that I like that Bell is doing is not only giving it that style update to the 10 line, but they're going with 4 shell sizes throughout the entire range for the MX-10 Mips. So you got extra small as one size, small and medium are that second shell size, large is its own shell, and then you have extra large up to 2 extra large being that last and final shell size. So I really like that. They're using 5 different EPS liners on the inside to really customize the fit to each size, and you're getting DOT and ECE safety certifications on the back of the helmet, so you know that it's going to be impact tested. It's going to go for rotational impact. It has Mips built into it, which I'll talk about when we get to the inside of the helmet, but you have that rotational impact to go along with the ECE 2206 safety ratings. 8 intakes and 5 exhaust ports all throughout the entire shell, and you are looking at about 3 pounds even when it comes to the overall weight, so a little bit less than we saw with the MX-9, which is part of, like I said, something we'd expect when you're adding a shell into it. You tend to lose weight when you go across the entire size range, but at 3 pounds is really the baseline I put for a lot of dirt helmets. The Moto 10 spherical, their pro line, gets pretty heavy, around 3.6, 3.8, and then the Moto 10 right in the middle with 3.4, so I like that. As you go up, it gets a little heavier, but you're also getting a lot more features added into it throughout. The overall fit though, intermediate oval, so a little bit longer front to back than it is side to side, perfect for the US market, and it fits true to size. One thing I will note right out of the box is a little on the tighter side. It's going to be something that will break in over time. Usually dirt helmets break in the most on their interior liners. The cheek pads, the top liner, starts to really absorb all that sweat and start to relax the foam inside of it. So if it is tight out of the box, that's exactly what you want. Just be wary of sizing up, because that's going to be something that you're going to have a loose helmet once it starts to break in, although you can customize the internal fit to really be what you want over the course of the life of the helmet. Just keep that in mind. You'll be swapping between shell sizes for those internal liners. But let's start looking at the helmet, work our way through it, see all the features, see if this is right for your gear closet. Again, at an entry-level price point coming in at $230, you have direct venting up at the chin bar. It does have a debris foam guard inside that you can pull out. You can clean it, you can put it back in. That helps keep the main chunks out of your mouth when you're breathing through. But then, unlike the other 2 helmets in the line, you're actually getting 2 slit vents that are direct to your face and direct to the cheek pads to help cool you off on each side of the chin bar. So I really like that they're adding that in there. The other 2 have them built into the EPS and the edge of the shell to help go around the goggles. I like that they're adding a little bit more ventilation, knowing that usually at this price point, at this one, you might be learning how to ride off-road. You might want that more ventilation if you're trail riding, just to get more air flowing through, because you might not be going that fast, so you want more air coming into the helmet. Unlike one of the top helmets where you're actually cruising at a pretty decent speed if you're using it, usually air is flowing through, no problem in there. The other point I'll call out is you do get 2 brow vents, just like the chin vents. That's not something we see on any other model within the line. And you can see a massive area for goggles at the recess here at the eye port. You can fit, I already tried it with 100% Armigas. I've tried it with the Liat 6.5, which are about the 2 largest sizes within the range. So they both fit in there, no problem at all. I was actually riding this around at the track. Really like the internal fit for the price point. I think it actually has a competitive internal liner, comfort-wise, to the Moto 10 Mips helmet. So I really like what they've added inside there. One cool part that they added that the MX-9 didn't have is this nice cutaway in here. Now underneath this little TPR cover is a little bit of EPS. This is going to be part of their no missed races line. This is something that protects the collarbone at the sides. If you have an accident, you don't want the helmet to hit down and actually break the collarbone, which is very easy to do. So they've added it into the Moto 10 years ago. You're now starting to see it in the MX-10 with a little bit more protection in there for impact absorption, so it's not a full shell just jamming into your collarbone should you go down. If we swing it around to the rear, again, you can see the ventilation up at the top with that peak that is very reminiscent of the Moto 10 spherical helmet and the overall style. So you get that peak, pretty decent flat area for goggles to actually lay onto for the straps themselves, which I always look for, a nice prominent area. And then you can actually see at the base of the helmet just a little bit more ventilation for the air to be pulled out of the front. Looking at the peak up here, you do have a breakaway style peak, so you do have toolless design over on the side. If you just push in, you can easily twist it off and adjust it or tighten it down. You can use a quarter, you can use a screwdriver, whatever you want to do that, but it is plastic screws on the side, so if you do get into an accident, it's going to be designed to shear off so it doesn't jerk the head or make it any issues with that during the impact. One thing I'll call out, it is a plastic peak on here, a little bit of ventilation ports going through, but it's going to be something really designed for off-road riding, so you're not looking at like the most aerodynamic helmet out there. Although I would imagine, since they're coming out with the MX-10, we'd probably see an MX-10 Adventure, which might get a different peak. It'll get a shield built into it, but that'll be more for street riders out there that want to remove the shield, but if they put it back on, they can go extended miles down the road. So I'll lift it up. We'll talk about the interior in here. It is a double D-ring system for going ahead and closing the entire thing with the snap to keep the excess in play. If I remove the cheek pads, you heard me taking it out there. It is 3-snap design as you go up to the Moto 10 and the Moto 10 spherical. It's actually a Magnafusion style, so it isn't something that has snaps at all. They just slot into place. You can check out that video if you want. But I will say lots of mesh, lots of reinforcement, and lots of foam on these ones just to make them easily contoured to your face. Another cool part is all inside the chin bar area. It's actually going to be EPS running through the entire chin bar. If you have an impact where you go forward inside the helmet, a lot of the key brands are starting to use impact materials in here instead of just being the plastic shell. So I like that they've added EPS inside of there with a little bit of a cover over top of it. But you can also see, if I show the camera guy at the right angle here, you can see the foam inside of it, the debris guard that you can pull out, clean, put it back in. It's going to keep a lot of the main debris out of your mouth, even though all the vents do have a metal mesh over top of it. So just keep that in mind. I'll go ahead and snap out the top liner. The top liner does use brow mounted snaps, which I'm not a fan of, but I will say after riding in it for a few hours, I didn't notice them because you can see they're kind of off to the side and there's a little tab of Velcro inside the helmet that will go ahead and catch it so you can adjust it a little bit, but the tabs or the snaps themselves are actually very far off to the side, which makes sense. And then at the rear, you do have 2 below the head and right around the neck liner to go ahead and keep that in. Inside, I mentioned it before, I'll show you in here, you do have this Mips Evolve liner in there that is designed to give you a little bit of rotation. Mips is technology that's been around for a few years. If you want more information, we have tons of articles over on Common Tread explaining the benefits of it, but it just gives the head a little bit more ability to absorb impacts through the shell. Allows the head to move just a little bit, usually like 5 to 10 millimeters, so it gives a little bit of movement in there. Always love seeing a Mips liner. The one thing I will say is underneath that Mips liner aren't the deepest of channels, but that comes to be expected around this price point, so it's not going to move tons of air through, but the Mips liner will help that air flow through because it's giving a distance between the EPS and that top liner for the air to go through. 45 millimeter speaker pockets on the side. You can actually see this is all that EPS I was talking about, the no miss races system inside the helmet. So it's not emergency release cheek pads, but I do like that they're adding speaker pockets in there. Most new riders are tending to using comm units these days, especially trail riding. Even experienced riders are starting to use comms a lot more. So it's 45 millimeters in width. So it's going to be good for the top of the line speakers, whether you're looking at Cardo, Senna, or any other brands. You're going to have the ability to space it in there, which is cool. I've added them to the Moto 10, which does not, since it's more of an MX style helmet. It does not have those speaker pockets, so it's doable, but I like having the pocket in there just to keep the speakers away from my head. But all in, considering the MX-9, like I mentioned before, was one of the best-selling off-road entry-level helmets on the market for nearly a decade. I think the MX-10 is taking that name and moving it even further into the benefits side with a lot of the features. The weight is solid, 4 shells is awesome, ECE 2206, and just a more clarity of the line, all moving to the 10 series. It's what Eli Tomac wears, it's what Cameron McAdoo wears, a lot of the top riders. So I like seeing we're starting to see the entire line trickle down to what entry-level riders can now buy out on the shelf. But if you have any other questions about this helmet or the other Bell helmets, click that info button. That's going to take you over to the product page where you can read other rider reviews. Don't just take my word for it. Do your own research as well. And if you still have questions after that, which helmet's right for you within Bell's line or the sizing, give our customer service agents a call. They're all riders. Happy to help you get set up for your next ride. I want to thank you for joining me and checking out the all-new Bell MX-10 Mips helmet. I'm Pat. I'll see you in the next video.